What's up, Savvy Expats? My name is Julio, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 things I dislike about the Philippines. So, let's get into it. But before I get into any detail, I want to make clear that everything I'm about to disclose in this video is based in my personal experience with some research as well. So, I hope nobody gets offended. Now, let's really get into it. So, for first in the list is the toxic culture. One main problem is that the Philippines lacks confidence within themselves. With its colonial mentality, it can lead to problems with expats like me. Reason being is because local Filipinos tend to believe that we as foreigners are worth more or higher value rather than them believing that their own people are higher value as well. With this also comes with Filipinos commonly expecting us to pick up the bill. This could include going out to local restaurants and them inviting their friends or quote-unquote relatives. I personally really don't like when Filipinos treat foreigners higher than themselves. I just want everybody to be treated with the same respect and value. Another major problem is with the amount of gossip here in the Philippines. I want to make it clear that not all Filipino gossips. However, to say that it isn't common in this culture would be a lie. This is so much to a point where the Philippines has a designated name for the people who gossip, called Marites. For example, you and I are referring to a relative who gossips a lot, we'd say. She's a Marites. The name was brought about because it just so happens that the people who gossip a lot in the province is named Marites. Another difference is between the American culture versus the Philippine culture is that Americans speak their mind. They're direct, blunt, and straightforward with how they feel. Whereas in the Philippines, generally Filipinos save face, be polite to you, but then go on gossip behind your back. So it's a major problem, as you can see. Again, this isn't to say that all Filipinos do this, because that's simply not the case. Filipinos for the most part are genuine and don't have hidden feelings towards people. And knowing that most of you are older than me watching this, I'm sure you guys can read between personalities. Unlike me, I'm just young, but I'm still learning. So savvy expats, let's give you an example based on my own experience. Once upon a time, I had a girlfriend who worked at a Starbucks. Seems about right. Whenever I went to that Starbucks, her co-workers were constantly attacking me with their gossip. I couldn't even go there once because the very second they would see me, they would start gossiping behind my back and I didn't feel welcome at all. Even as a regular paying customer, they would act like it's their own business. I just wanted my coffee, man. It was horrible, but thank God it's over nowadays. And for our last example of a toxic culture in the Philippines is the crab mentality. Essentially, the crab mentality is a pattern of thinking where people are often envious or selfish of another person's success. This is not only prevalent within the Philippines, but with most impoverished countries in general, like Venezuela, my home country. Oftentimes, you'll hear stories of individuals trying to improve themselves here, but their close relatives always sabotages their success out of jealousy. Even when a local Filipino chooses to speak in English here instead of Tagalog, their friends will ridicule that person thinking that he's being arrogant. We'll call him mayabang, meaning cocky, or sashal, meaning snobby. Now, let's head on to the second one in my list, which is pollution. Pollution in the Philippines is a grave problem every single day, with garbage in general being disposed of in the streets, in the ocean, or even in the air. I remember when I was arriving in the Philippines for the first time, I could see from the airplane how full of garbage the sea was. It was a depressing sight. It's depressing to experience such a view like this, especially in a tropical island where it's filled with beautiful beaches, gorgeous nature, and greenery. Even though the Philippines is adopting the habit of using reusable things like reusable bags or paper bags, paper straws, reusable plastic bottles or containers, etc., it's still far off getting rid of this problem for good. Talking about air pollution, the Philippines uses coal or oil as an energy source to produce electricity. It's a cheap, easy, and rapid way to pollute the air. Frequently, you can see towards a distance how polluted the air is, which forces you to wear a face mask for it. I believe the most efficient way to produce electricity is using solar plants. With just clean and although an expensive technology, it's efficient. And about garbage being disposed of on the streets, I've seen this most often outside of Bonifacio Global City, which is where I live. It's a common sight to see trash in the sides of the streets in Manila. On top of that, with jeepneys, tricycles, and other diesel vehicles being the most common form of transportation, the air gets heavily polluted. The congestion of traffic within these vehicles produces a heavy smog in the major parts of Manila, which at times it becomes unbreathable. Hashtag disgusting. Now, third on the list is social gaps. While the Philippines aims to be a middle-class society by the year 2040, I see it being difficult for the Philippines accomplishing that goal. Why? Because of its ultra-high levels of inequality. Income inequality, to be precise. Yet, inequality remains high. The top 1% of earners together capture 70% of the national income, with only 14% being shared by the bottom 50%. The Philippines had one of the highest rates of income inequality in East Asia. And in my personal experience, whenever I travel outside of BGC, man, it's a complete different world. So that's one part of inequality as well. In my personal experience, and I know everyone can agree with me in this, there is no better city to live in the Philippines than BGC. The only problem is, many expats moving to this city don't know the ropes of this metropolis. Things like unsugar-coated cost of living, best places to visit, things to watch out for, etc. That is why Evan and I made an all-in-one affordable guide detailing everything you need to know about living in BGC. If you're interested in seeing if this is the right city for you, feel free to click on the link down below. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Although there are more job opportunities for people around the Philippines, I believe if they don't change their lack mentality in the Philippines, it's not going to improve anytime soon. Inequality starts even before birth, and it's perpetuated over the life cycle. With low-income/class Filipinos having more and more children, that causes them to continue a cycle of poverty, thus causing inequality. It's a vicious cycle that I hope one day it's soon solved. Now, let's head on to our fourth topic on the list, which is traffic. Traffic in the Philippines is an everyday struggle for literally everybody. It's a topic most people are familiar with, but it's something really concerning nowadays. Although the Philippines has always had traffic, it's almost like the local people has accepted that and consider it normal. And fair enough, it is normal. But it is something that I can't seem to accept. Why? Because even if you take a Grab to one side of BGC to another, if there's traffic, you have no choice but to be patient. Meanwhile, in a developed country like the US, if there's one route with traffic, you may decide to take a different route. In the Philippines, that's not the case. There's only a minimum amount of roads and routes that you can take here in the Philippines. Even if you want to drive to a nearby town to another, it will take roughly around 20 minutes to get there. But if there's traffic, it might take you around 2 hours. Not to mention, even down to the kind of traffic in the Philippines, it's very different than the West. In the West, traffic, though long and arduous, it's organized. Meanwhile, here in the Philippines, let's just say chaos at its finest. There's motorcycles slipping to your blind spots, you have tricycles going in between cars, loud jeepneys basically cutting you off, and practically nobody following the traffic laws or staying in their lanes. So with that being said, if you know that there's going to be rush hour within the Philippines, try to leave at least 1 or 2 hours ahead of time to make your appointments. Alright, for fifth and last on our list is corruption. Corruption is a problem that affects all countries and societies to a greater or lesser extent. It is the easy and illegal way to escape bureaucracy and its obstacles to efficiency. But in my case, as a young foreigner, I haven't been a victim of corruption in the Philippines, but that doesn't mean that my friends haven't. Allow me to give you an example of my friend who has been a victim. I won't give my friend's real name, but for the sake of the story, let's call her Anne. So one night, our friend Anne was driving to Manila with a friend in her passenger seat. Being the female driver that she is, she quote-unquote accidentally blew through a red light. And then she was stopped by police officers. The police officers then threatened her to throw her in jail, but she was given a second option, which is bribery. So either she's sent to jail or she has to pay the officers 5,000 pesos. In the end, Anne didn't have 5,000 pesos, but her friend did, so she had to pay the bribe. Unfortunately, this isn't a rare case in the Philippines. As a matter of fact, it's quite common among the locals. Just imagine how a corrupt officer sees a foreigner like you and me who thinks that we're rich. Well, it's not nice. While I love the Philippines, these are just the things that come with living in a third world country. Other than that, life here is beautiful. The Philippines has amazing weather, amazing lifestyle, amazing quality of life if you have the money, and well, it's very nice. So that's it, Savvy Expats. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless.